Hi, I'm Steve Bourie, and I am the author of The American Casino Guidebook.
And I'm Matt Bourie, and I'm the editor of the American Casino Guidebook. And our video this week is a continuation on our video I did last week. If you saw that video, I had posed a question to all of our viewers, asking them to leave any questions they had that they wanted Steve and I to answer in the comment section below. And when I had originally thought of that, I assumed it was going to be all gambling related questions that our viewers would be asking. However, there were still quite a few questions about what's going on in Las Vegas currently with the whole COVID-19 thing. So what we're going to do is we're breaking it up into two separate videos. The first video is going to be this week. It's going to be me, Steve, and Anthony Curtis again from the Las Vegas Advisor, like we've done in the previous few videos. And then next week, we're going to do a video with just me and Steve, and we are going to answer all of the gambling-related questions.
Yeah, so we're going to start off with Anthony Curtis. As Matt said, we've done several videos in the past with him. The last one we did was just when the casinos reopened in Las Vegas. That was in June the 12th, so it's about a month later. And Anthony's been publishing his newsletter for about 30 years, and he's the #1 source for good information on Las Vegas. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask him for some questions that we have on our own about what's happened since we last spoke. And then we're going to ask some of the questions that you posted in the discussion forum on our YouTube channel. So again, this is going to be Anthony Curtis from the Las Vegas Advisor newsletter.
Yeah, and then don't forget to tune back in next week when Steve and I do the video on answering the gambling questions. And here's Anthony.
Anthony Curtis, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. It's about 110 degrees out here, so I'm staying inside, but otherwise I'm doing okay.
Very good. The last time we spoke was June the 12th when the casinos had just opened. And for people who aren't familiar with you, you have the Las Vegas Advisor newsletter. And you've been publishing that for what, about 30 years or so?
Something like that. Yeah, probably a little more.
Okay, so you are the guy with all the answers for Las Vegas related questions. So first of all, can you give us an update? Because from our end, we read the articles, and originally there were no masks required. Now masks are required, and we hear stories about people are getting people are getting layoff notices, but also we've heard seen articles where they say more casinos are opening on the strip. So what is the bottom line here? Can you give us an update of like what's happened since the casinos first opened? Is business good? Is business bad? And how are things going?
Yeah, well, the first thing I'll say is I don't have all the answers. I don't know anybody who has all the answers. I mean, I've been doing this, like you say, for 30 plus years, pretty much 7 days a week, and nobody's got all the answers. Things change so quickly here. It's just unbelievable. Even to the point of your question, how much things have changed, to the point of where we talked before. No, you didn't have to wear a mask. Now you are mandated to wear a mask just about anywhere you go. It even got so much, for a while you could wear a mask unless you were drinking or eating. Now it's just essentially if you're eating, even if you're drinking in a lot of the bars before the bars were closed. I'll get to that in a minute. But even when you were in a bar drinking, you had to wear your mask and pull it up and down. So things have definitely progressed in terms of the precautions being made. The biggest change that I just alluded to is that throughout all of Las Vegas and really throughout most of Nevada, seven out of I think 17 counties have now closed all of the bars, and by that I mean standalone bars. I mean bars in casinos, bars in restaurants. So a restaurant or a casino or a bar that sells food can still be open. People can still go in, but they cannot go up to the bar. So they can't order a drink from the bar. They can't sit at the bar to eat. They have to eat somewhere to the outside. Obviously, bar top machines that are in bars cannot be played because you can't go next to it. So there are, maybe a dozen or so but regular bars in Las Vegas that have machines both on the bar and away from the bar. And in those places, you can actually still play video poker. So they didn't shut down gaming. They just shut down everything that has to do with going to a bar because they figure that people congregate there. They get too close. They take their masks off. They don't follow the rules. Nevada, like many other places, like Florida, like California, has had a spike in positive tests, and that's what led the government here to make those rules. In terms of how staunch they are with the bar, I actually went to a buffet this morning. First buffet I've gone to since the reopening. There's only 3 of them open, one at the Wynn, one at Cosmopolitan, and the third one I went to at South Point. And at breakfast at South Point, they have a unlimited Bloody Mary bar. And you can't even, they used to put the drinks out on the bar and you would walk out and take your Bloody Marys as much as you want. They won't even do that anymore. You cannot approach the bar. You have to wait to be served. So that's really how stringent it's gotten.
Interesting. Now, one question I had is in our other videos that, I think it was the first video that before the casinos had opened, we were sort of talking about how we thought that the locals casinos were going to be doing better and that the strip casinos were not going to be doing as good. Now, we heard a story that one of the casino companies that pretty much is known for being in the locals casinos was laying off a lot of their employees, and we're still getting stories about new strip casinos opening. So do you think that we were wrong and it's actually the opposite of what it was before? Or is that just 2 stories that happen to be happening at the same time?
Yeah, the stories are accurate. You're talking about Boyd. You know, Boyd just announced a bunch of layoffs. I think we were also accurate in the prognostication. I think that the local casinos are doing better. The Strip is having a hard time. You know, we're hearing about places such as most recently Venetian, Palazzo. They're closing down bunches of their rooms. They're not taking weekday guests any longer, at least not for now. So we're hearing a lot of that. What we had was, you know, after the opening, there was this rush to the casinos, you know, this pent up demand, as everybody had talked about, this exuberance. And for the first week after, even during the weekdays, it was pretty good. And everybody was really optimistic about the crowds, but it slowly tapered off. And business has been very slow. I would say that business has been slowest on the Strip, as predicted. And we're probably going to hear about more tightening when it comes to that sort of situation. So I would say no, that we did not get it wrong. I think we might have been, and by we, I'm saying me, I might have thought that it wasn't going to fall off as fast as it has. But right now it's pretty desolate, especially during the middle of the week.
Here now, I had a question because one of the things we were talking about in our previous video was the 2 schools of thought. Because now you know the business is slower. Are the casinos going to be more generous with their offers, or are they going to be less generous with their offers? And do you have any experience with that? What people are saying?
Yeah, well, we've heard quite a bit. You know, we've had a 4 to 5 week test period here. And everybody has been very disappointed in terms of offers they've gotten from the casinos, especially in terms of free play, you know, welcome back money, that sort of thing. They seem to have come out very tight in that regard. On the other hand, people who are interested in room deals are doing very well. You know, most of the information that we've gotten from people regarding room offers has been that they're getting more than they had in the past. So it looks like the casinos have been relatively generous on rooms, but actually surprisingly tight in terms of free play, and probably you could put comps in that category. I think comps, I haven't heard that much about comps. I've heard about free play low, rooms good. So that's where we stand right now.
Now that's kind of interesting. You'd think that they'd be more trying to push people into the casino since their restaurants are operating at reduced capacities, but I guess not.
Well, you know, I mean, the basic strategy is if you get them in the rooms, you're going to get them in other places. So you know, that's always been, every time there's been a slowdown in Vegas, room rates have always come down and comps and rooms have always gone up. And it's always been a good situation there. So that's held true to form. But for some reason, they came out with sort of a stance that they didn't want to discount a lot, at least where it came to, you know, giving gamblers money to play. They're holding the line there.
Okay, and now we're going to switch gears a little bit here. And we had asked last week I did a video with just me, and I had told the viewers to submit any questions they had that they wanted us to answer. I sort of assumed they were all going to be gambling questions, but there were a lot of Vegas-related questions due to the whole COVID thing still going on. So we're going to start with those questions. We have 8 questions from our YouTube viewers that we were going to ask. So the first one is Teresa C said, with no buffets open and restaurants running at a quarter to a half capacity and others not open at all, How are they feeding the masses? I guess that's a little bit of a gloom and doom question, but they do have, there are, like you said, there's 3 buffets open, but what about with the rest of everything? Are the restaurants that are open, do they have a lot of waits or anything like that?
No, not really. I mean, there's plenty of places to go to eat. I can tell you that. You know, when you think about Vegas, there are so many restaurants in this town. And we're not just talking about the casinos themselves. You know, you go, just a little bit west of the casino and you're in Chinatown. And you've got, some of the best Chinese food on the, in the United States. And then, on the other side too, on the east side of town, there's lots of restaurant enclaves and things. So both on the Strip, downtown, in the casinos, outside of the casinos, there are absolutely plenty of restaurants open. It's actually better than usual. There aren't long waits. Reservations are always suggested, but you can walk into a place without a reservation and do pretty well. These places are trying to stay open. They don't want to wait, until the crowds come back. They're scraping for, every cover they can get. And really that's part of the sunny side of this, is that the eating situation is very good. If you want to dine at some of the really good restaurants, now's a good opportunity. The only negative is some of them don't stay open as late as they normally do. They've got some restricted hours. So you got to call ahead, but no trouble getting a place to eat.
Now, let me ask you, if you go to any of these fancy restaurants that normally cost a lot of money, are they running any specials? Like, is it cheaper to eat now, or it's just easier to get in?
It's easier to get in, not cheaper to eat. But what we're finding is there seem to be, and this is another thing that we predicted and thought might happen, there seem to be more happy hours popping up. So this is a good situation where some of the better restaurants are going, okay, let's do what we can to pull in some people from 5 to 6 or 6 to 7 or something like that. And there've been some really interesting happy hours showing up. One at the M that I just found out about. A couple others on the Strip. You just got to kind of get your ear to the ground, but they're showing up.
All right, we're going on to question 2 from Saxy a Boy 77. He's asking, are $5 and $10 tables impossible to find now since casinos are needing to make up for their losses?
No, not impossible to find, a little bit tougher to find. A little bit tougher to find the lower limits on the Strip. This I have noticed for sure, that the limits on the Strip have been heightened a little bit. So a place where you might have been able to play $5 and $10 blackjack before may now be 10 and 25, that sort of thing. I walked through Caesars a couple of weeks ago, and I saw 1 or 2 $10 tables, and everything else was 25, 50, and only a few 25s, and it was 50s and 100s. So on the Strip, yeah, you're going to have a hard time finding lower limits, but downtown in the locals places, no, there's still plenty of $5 blackjack. Some of them are mixing $10 tables in there. I would say there's been a slight boost almost everywhere, but not that it's palpable, and not that you'd walk in and go, well, they've just priced me out. You're still going to be able to find the $5 games, in some places, the 2s and 3s.
I had one more question on this, please, on my own. On the Strip casinos at the table games, do all of the casinos on the Strip pretty much have those plastic partitions up to protect the players?
And that was a surprising thing too. I assumed that, especially on the Strip, you would see them everywhere, but you don't. You only see the plexiglass, I would say, in about 30 to 40% of the places. And there's not a single casino, I haven't been in all of them yet, but I've been in a lot of them. There's not a single place I've seen yet that has plexiglass that has it everywhere. And basically it becomes player's choice. So the places that have put it in have put it in for people who are overly concerned and want to play in that sort of environment. Other people find it very sort of confining and claustrophobic. And it feels kind of funny. I don't know if you guys have tried it yet, but sitting down inside a plexiglass, surrounding and encasing, which I've done not on tables, but I've done on some bar games, is a kind of a funny feeling. And you feel really, if you're a person who's prone to that sort of claustrophobic reaction, you're not going to like those. So all of the casinos sort of give you the choice, but they're in the minority. You'll find more places without them than you will with them.
I never really thought about that. All the casinos, well, the Seminoles down by us are the only ones with the live table games, and they have the plexiglass everywhere. I didn't really think about how weird it would be. I might have to you just gave me an excuse to go play some blackjack.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a funny feeling, and I think that's why here they want to give people the option to not have to do that if they don't want to. But you do have to wear a mask, and that's another thing that's changed from the time that we talked last. is that players did not have to wear a mask. It was optional for players everywhere, and it is no longer optional. You may not be in a casino doing anything except eating at a restaurant without a mask on.
Now, let me ask you this. You were talking about the strip casinos being harder to find the lower limits. What about some of the casinos that are off the strip, like Tuscany or Ellis Island or Gold Coast?
Yeah, these are the places to go if if you're looking for lower limits, then these are the places you want to hit. You want to go to
yeah, I figured
strip.
I'd ask that because that's a little easier to get to those places if you don't have a car than it is to get downtown.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, those places work real well, either them or downtown for low limits. If you go to the strip, you better be prepared for maybe getting, shut out of a low limit table because there aren't that many of them, or prepared to play a higher limit game.
Okay, and now our next question is from Patricia M. She said that she's heading to Vegas in the end of July for 9 days. And she said, I had a plan of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. But now with COVID, people are telling me I have to make a reservation now before I leave home for the pool. And she said the Wynn Buffet and the Wicked Spoon sounds kind of crazy how they're doing it. She said, will there be any other buffets opening up, or is it only those two? So I guess you had mentioned the South Point, but I guess you can elaborate on the rest of that, and if you know if any other buffets are opening.
Yeah, well, the advice about reservations is good. You don't necessarily have to make reservations at everything you do, but you're smart to call ahead and make sure that you don't A, have to, or B, should, in order to get what you want. So this is the same advice I gave last time I was on, and I stick with that advice. If you're coming out, you want to call ahead as much as you can to make sure that where you're going is open and there aren't things about that you need to know. They might have some special rules of their own. You never know. In terms of the buffets, there are 3 buffets open. They all serve in different ways. All right, so at the Wynn, and none of them are the traditional way. So at none of these places yet can you walk up and serve yourself. At the Wynn, you sit at your table, and you must make a reservation to go to the Wynn. And you fill out an order sheet and give it to a waiter who brings you your food. At the Cosmopolitan, they suggest reservations, but you don't have to. It's not like you show up, if you don't have a reservation, they go, no way. If they have room, you can get in, and believe me, they'll have room. There you go up and you essentially, you don't quite serve yourself. You don't wait at the table, but you walk up, and that's a small plates format. The Wicked Spoon has always been like that everything is already portioned out for you in small plates, but you don't pick those up by yourself either. Somebody behind the counter hands them to you. And then the closest to the old style, which I like the least, I think, is what I just experienced at South Point today, where you do go up to the serve yourself islands, but there are no serving spoons or forks in there. You have to wait for an employee to come. Now, the employees are supposed to be right there, and they dish it out to you, but they aren't always there. Sometimes you got to wait, or you've got to target one of the islands where you see somebody waiting to serve you. That one's difficult because, again, sometimes you have to wait, and sometimes you want a different portion than they're going to give you. And it's real hard to say, give me 5 pieces of the potatoes. You can't really do that. You just give me a spoonful, and you either get too much or too little. So, there's a little ways to go. The next one up is probably going to be the Bacchanal, and they're targeting that for August. And I'm going to bet, if I had to bet over or under, or, in between that one would open, I'd say one's going to open before that time.
And that Bacchanal, that's Caesars, is it, right?
Caesar's Palace. Yeah, maybe the most opulent buffet in all of Vegas, that and the Wynn. And that's due to open in August.
Yeah, I was kind of sort of expected, like the Wynn and the Wicked Spoon at Cosmo. Those are both very sort of higher end buffets. So you'd think that they can, I would expect the higher end buffets to open first, since they sort of have more wiggle room in that price to have extra employees in there. I don't know about the South Point, but I would assume that's not a very high ticket one. So it's good that they have some of the lower ticket ones opening. I wouldn't think they'd be opening.
Well, what a great deal. I mean, at the South Point in terms of a deal. I mean, it's interesting how they open. The Wynn jacked up all their prices by anywhere from $3 to $13. So every one of those, depending on what you're eating, whether it's the weekday brunch or the dinner on the weekend, the price is up from $3 to $13. The Cosmo opened exactly where it was, which puts it at about $36, $37, which is it's about almost not quite half the price of the Wynn. So the difference was so obvious and remarkable there that we actually, because there were only 2 buffets open, we made the Cosmopolitan buffet one of our top 10 this month. We had to, the Las Vegas, every month we do a Las Vegas Advisor top 10. Several of the things that were in the top 10 had not reopened yet. So we had to completely kind of overhaul the top 10, and we wanted a buffet. So we had a $36 buffet in the top 10, first time ever. We will certainly change that in the August issue when we'll put the South Point there. I mean, today we went for $9.95, and it comes with unlimited Bloody Marys for breakfast, and that's pretty strong. You can feed a family of 4 for what you'd feed one at the Wynn.
Really? All right, we're going on to question 4 here. Sherry, this is a 2-parter. She asks, when does Park MGM reopen? I have a comp room to use. Sherry wants to use her comp room. And also, when are the taxis readily available?
The Park MGM, let's start at the beginning. Park is one of the few big ones not to open yet. Park hasn't opened. Bally's hasn't opened. Tropicana hasn't opened, you know, but most of the big ones on the Strip are. Park is still still parked, you know. I mean, it's in a waiting situation here. Some people think that it may not open until next year.
I was speaking to a friend today that lives in Vegas, and she said that a few of her friends work at Park MGM, and they were officially laid off. So she said that she had her doubts about that.
Yeah.
But while we're on that, any rumor on them? Last time we spoke, they were talking about opening non-smoking. Any weight to that, or it's still up in the air?
Well, it's, you know what, it's easy for them to say they're going to do it because they haven't even come up with an opening date yet, you know. And like I say, we're hearing a lot of speculation that this one will not open until next year. I haven't heard anything definitive about yes or no on the non-smoking, but I would bet no on that. Again, we'll just have to wait and see when it opens, but no opening date on that one. That's one of the few. Another, you know, the other real big one with no opening date is the Palms. So, you know, that's another one. Everybody's going, holy mackerel, really? The Palms is not going to open. Well, it'll reopen at some point, but it's not earmarked for anything and looking more like next year. As far as taxis, I've been hearing about problems with taxis. Now, I live here, so I don't use taxis a lot, but people I've talked to say that getting taxis, getting Ubers is a little bit more difficult, especially I believe they said getting taxis is more difficult than getting an Uber these days. So yeah, there's a little bit of it's not that they're not around, you can get them, but they're not as ready as they were, you know, prior to this.
Let me ask you one more thing. Going back, as you had mentioned, Tropicana and Bally's, it's my understanding that Bally's is supposed to open next week. Is it the 23rd?
That's right. Bally's is the 23rd or the 24th, right? That one just came out. But as of this time, as we speak, it's not open at this time.
So I think I had seen that. And also I think I saw something on Tropicana is supposed to open in September.
Heard nothing about that. I know, you know, that's Penn Gaming. And they've opened something like 90% of their casinos around the United States, including M Resort here in Vegas. But I have not seen word one yet of a speculative date for Tropicana. If you heard September, that's the earliest I've heard so far.
Okay, and then now the next question is from somebody named Ill Propaganda, and this is a non-COVID related question, and I have heard several people ask this, of my generation has asked this. Are there any casinos that allow, with recreational marijuana now available, are there any casinos that openly allow smoking cannabis on the gaming floor?
No, zero. It's absolutely not allowed. It is theoretically not allowed, you know, in any of the public spaces and in any of the rooms. Theoretically, it is not. Now, walk through any major hotel's hallway and you will know that theoretical is all that is, because it's like you're walking through a weed store, you know, when you're walking right through it. So no, that's the big conundrum here, is that you can buy it, but there's almost no place that you can consume it legally. And there's a lot of talk, and there was a lot of talk before the shutdown, which has been derailed at this point, but about laws coming to legalize, you know, cannabis lounges where you can literally then consume. You know, you can buy and then consume, but it's very difficult, you know, to find a place. You can do it in your home, but you're not supposed to do it in the casinos or actually in the hotels.
Yeah, I assume that has to do with the fact that it's still federally illegal and none of these casinos want to lose their gaming license, right?
Well, it has something to do with that. Yeah, it all has to do with them being able to get these things through gaming. And you know, that's never an easy chore. But, you know, it's not that people don't do it, but to do it on the casino floor, you get stomped on, you get some trouble. And by stomped on, I don't mean they beat you up. I mean, they'd come and grab you and say, hey, no way.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going on to question 6 from Mary Kay. I think she took time from selling her cosmetics to ask this question. What is the latest on the Tropicana, which we just touched on? She said, I heard it was sold, which evidently I don't think is the case. But and then she says, will the Raiders affect rates this fall, even if they don't allow fans at the games?
Well, the Tropicana, there actually was a sale of sorts there, one of these leaseback deals. And, you know, when one of these things happens, it hardly moves the needle because, you know, it's ostensibly it's sold to another source, but they've leased it back to be managed by the same people that they just sold it from. So really nothing's going to change there. So officially, yeah, there has been a move made at the Trop, but nobody expects that to change anything, at least for a couple of years until the management changes. Regarding the Raiders, I'm not sure I understand that question. I do know that the Raiders' presence is going to change things a lot when they're allowed to have people come to the stadium. You know, that's the biggest thing that's going on right now. The Raiders are going to start their year playing in Las Vegas with nobody in the stands.
Yeah, I think her question was sort of, because I guess it's sort of assumed that if the Raiders are having a home game that weekend, the room rates are going to be higher. Do you think the room rates are going to be higher that weekend if there's a home game but nobody's allowed in the stadium?
No, it's not. But if once the shackles are taken off and people are allowed to attend the games, then yes, you are going to see the same thing that happens when there's a big convention in town or anything else. You know, the room rates move on a demand basis, and just like airline seats or anything else. And they're absolutely going to go up in price on Raider weekends when they're playing and the stands can be full. If nobody's going to be allowed to be in, no, it's not going to make a difference. They're not going to change it because people aren't going to come anyway if they raise the prices, and they're not going to come for the games.
Okay, now we have another question from Anish C. This is a pre-COVID question I believe they had. They said, on the Vegas Strip, are the big casinos still making most of their money off gambling revenues, or has there been a shift in tourist preference towards shows and experiences and that like?
Yeah, that has shifted. Way back, we're talking 20, 30 years ago, it was all about the casino. And then, when the Mirage opened, the balance began to shift and it became a 50-50 thing where there was 50% was the casino and 50% was, rooms, shows, food, and retail, stores. That has since continued to move in the direction away from the casino and toward, the other forms of revenue making at the big casinos. So it's now about a 2/3, 1/3 with the casino on the low end of that. The 2/3 of the revenues are made in other areas, non-casino. That's on the Strip only. If you move off the Strip, you get to downtown and you get to the locals casinos. Now you get much closer to the other model, 50-50 at worst, and sometimes casino is higher. But when you're talking about the Strip, it's absolutely 2-to-1, outside of the casino.
But that's because of like all the fancy nightclubs and stuff they have, right?
Yeah, that all goes into it. That all goes into the whole thing. It's gaming and non-gaming revenue. And when you add up all their fancy non-gaming revenue, it's 2-to-1.
All right, our last question here from Jay Case, and we're going to, this is all about downtown, Fremont Street area. He's asking the rules of Fremont Street, please. Can you be outside with a mask? Do they still have the concerts? What about the performers? Is it all outside seating down there? You have to, is the outside seating open? So a variation of questions on the situation in Fremont Street.
That's a really good question because the Fremont Street situation is always in flux, and things have changed a lot down there. The biggest change at Fremont Street is that since the lockdown and extending beyond, you have to be 21 to go onto Fremont Street. And that's never been the case. I mean, there's always been, kids and strollers and all that sort of thing. Not only do you need to be 21, you better make sure that you bring your ID. Because if you enter Fremont Street, the Fremont Street experience, or into the commons through a casino, you're going to be okay. Nobody's going to card you or ask you anything. But if you happen to go across the street, let's say to the plaza, or you go out the east side and you walk into Fremont Street East into the bar area there and try to re-enter the Fremont Street, you could very likely be carded. And if you don't have your ID, they might not let you in. I found that out the hard way. I went across to the plaza, came back. They wanted my ID. I didn't have it with me. And I showed them a slot club card. And they said, "Are you staying there?" And I said, "Yes." And I wasn't. But I said, "Yeah, and I need to get back to my hotel." And they said, "Okay, go ahead." As I don't know, I probably got you guys fooled, but they weren't sure if I was 21. But, you know. But anyway. That,
I was going to say, you couldn't just pull rank? You couldn't just say, "Don't you know who I am?"
Well, I didn't do that, but I said, "Do I look 20?" Like, I'm not 21. They're like, "Well, we have to ask, you know, everybody." So, you know, the listeners or people who are viewing, they're going to want to make sure they have their IDs.
Well, actually, let me touch on that real quick, because we had another question that I didn't quite understand. They were asking about metal detectors in Fremont Street. Is that a thing where like there's like a whole security where you walk in, or?
Yeah, and it's pretty loose. I mean, there's even turnstiles when you cross the streets, like within the Fremont Street Experience area. They try to herd you through turnstiles. I don't know why. It doesn't even seem like they're counting, but they push you through these turnstiles, or they have you walk through these metal detectors. But it's not really something that they're doing all the time. It's sort of like if they feel like telling you to do it, you do it. The only thing that they seem to be rigid on is the, you know, age 21. They don't want any kids in there. As far as having to wear masks, I don't think so. I think that there might be a loose suggestion or requirement that you do that because you're in close quarters there, but there's really nobody out there to enforce it. I've never yet witnessed any of the bike cops or anything like that, security guys walking up and saying, "Hey, you got to have a mask on when you're outside." They still want you to be at 6 feet distance and that sort of thing. So the biggest change really is just the ID thing and just some of these little bit different security protocols that are in place for some reason.
All right, now one thing you missed there, and Matt has an interesting story to tell here, is about the street performers in Fremont Street. Matt, what did you want to say?
Oh yeah, are they? One of the last times I was there, I can't remember. This might have been several years ago when it was still a little shady over in Fremont Street. It's gotten much nicer over the years, but I had a Spider-Man, a man dressed as Spider-Man who got upset with me. I don't even know what the hell I did. I think I was just standing too close to him, and he got upset and tried to fight me. So is that still, are they allowing the street performers? I mean, now I could see why a street performer would get upset if you were standing too close to them. But are they still allowing them? Is there any difference with those?
Well, first things first. I mean, if he was a real Spider-Man, you wouldn't want to fight him because he's a superhero. Yeah. So, you know, you don't want to do that. But I know which one you're talking about. He's a real small Spider-Man, even smaller than Tobey Maguire, that guy who's out there.
Oh yeah, exactly.
What they did with these guys, and yeah, some of these guys are idiots and girls, and they can get unruly themselves. But if they do that, they face, you know, all you really had to do is go find a security guard and say, "Hey man, Spider-Man's harassing me," and that guy'd be in a lot of trouble. There are some stricter rules. They're still allowed to be out there, but it's almost like a lottery system. There can only be so many at the same time, and they have to almost acquire a license to be there. And they have these little areas that they have to adhere to because it was getting overrun by the street performers. So they're still out there. It's still a part of the scene, but there's more kind of oversight on them. And if any of them, you know, to anyone listening, if any of those guys ever or girls ever give you trouble, you just go find a security guard and tell them, and they're going to be in a heap of trouble themselves because they're lucky to even be out there, to be honest.
Yeah, because I think one of the last times I was there, they have the circles on the ground and they have to stay inside the circle now. Or
That's
something
correct.
like that,
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a designated areas for them. I know that Spider-Man you're talking to. He seems like a little kind of a hyper dude. You know, he's too much Spider juice.
Wait, it could have been Matt too, you know. Don't blame it all on Spider-Man.
I would never do anything wrong. I don't know what you're talking about.
American Casino guy against Marvel Comics. You guys go get him, man.
I like it. Anthony, it's always great talking to you. If people want to get more information about you and your publication, where should they go?
Well, just LasVegasAdvisor.com. We've got a running blog there, Steve. It's called Vegas and the Virus. And like everything we've just discussed right here is in there and more about what's going on. Every time there's a change in the rules and protocols here, we put it in that blog. And so you want to keep up on it. I'd say that blog is as up to date as about any other source there is.
Okay, great.
All right. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button to subscribe. Also, click the little bell and make sure you turn on the notification so you always find out when we got a new video coming out, and leave us a comment down below and tell us what you think.
Yeah, thanks again for watching, and best wishes for good luck in the casinos.